Hi, I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to another edition of Fridays with Sandy. That's Sandy Kreisberg in Boston. We have a really highly qualified candidate. He's applying 2+2 at Harvard Business School. He's currently at NYU. He's majoring in biochemistry, where he's really excelled. He has a 3.8 GPA, a 760 GMAT, and a really interesting background. We're going to do a mock interview with this guy, right, Sandy?
That is correct. And one of the things, the first question in a mock interview for 2+2 is frequently, could you introduce yourself? So James, could you introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. My name is James Goldberg. I'm from Englewood, New Jersey. I served as a sergeant in the Israeli military. After that, I enrolled in New York University, where I'm majoring in biochemistry. I've done 2 summers of lab research, one in cancer therapies, another in DNA nanotechnology. After that, I spent the summer doing equity research for an activist hedge fund, and I'm currently a venture capital intern for a health tech focused growth stage venture capital firm.
Okay, that got through it. There was an acceptable minimization of your Israeli Army war stories. John, how would you grade that as an answer to that all-important question of introduce yourself?
Okay, but it was crisp and it was clear, but it felt a little sterile to me, frankly.
Yeah, it felt canned and robotic. It felt like
I would say here's why I majored in biochemistry and here's why I'm passionate about it.
Well, or something.
Something.
Let me give me some general advice for everybody. Just introduce yourself question. Create a narrative. You don't have to cover everything. You go, I'm happy to introduce myself. My name is James Goldberg. I come from the New York area. I went to NYU, where I got very interested in biochemistry. And then I had some summer internships at, as you can see on my resume, biochemistry focused venture capital firms. And those experiences got me interested in blah and blah. And another thing about me was that after I graduated high school, but before I went to college, I spent X number of years in the Israeli army. That's the way I'd introduce myself. Mm-hmm. You could do it better because you're in command of the facts, but you get the difference?
Yeah, I see.
A little more casual, a little less sterile.
Yeah, a little less robotic. Okay, so that's a general thing. You've worked at some venture capital firms and equity research firms. Tell me about the cultures of those firms. Were they different?
Sure. So the equity research role that I had last summer was at a very small activist hedge fund. It was myself and 3 other interns, and there's the main portfolio manager. It's really one.
What did you do? There's another reality about interviews. They always interrupt.
Mm-hmm. So my task was I had a specific coverage where I would analyze the financial statements over the past 5 years and build different models to determine if it was a worthwhile investment for.
Yeah. Did you find any winners?
I did not, no.
How come?
The main company that I was investigating, we were looking, because it's activist, they want high growth potential. And as I was doing my research, there was a large investment made, and the stock jumped about 6%, which was then indicative that
you're a little late to that one.
Yes.
That's proof of the fact the early bird gets the worm on growth stocks.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. What did you learn about investing besides that?
I was very fascinated by all the little details that can really make or break a company and that need to be taken into account. For example, when looking at a fast food restaurant chain, how the price of lettuce can impact the company's expenses, how different legislations with minimum wage. So if California is raising their minimum wage, how that'll affect a company that 70% of their employees are in California.
Good. That's an okay answer. Let me give you another piece of advice, you and everybody else. Keep your answers on the shorter, not the longer side. If they want to know more, they'll ask more. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, here's a question that is often the first question, and people just slap their heads and have a hard time answering it. Could you tell me why you went to NYU?
Sure. So knowing that I'd be entering college a few years later than most freshmen, I wanted the environment where I could be as on campus as I wanted to be, or I could take advantage of the city's resources. And I found that
John, what's the grade here?
I don't know. I mean, you want to be in an urban environment.
You're explaining too much, okay? What you were doing was saying NYU worked because I already had planned to join the Army, okay?
Mhm.
I'm not sure we need that. You just go, I was looking for several things. I wanted to stay close to New York. I wanted to have a place that would defer my admission for 2 years because I knew I was going to join the Army. I visited. I was interested in X and Y. I spoke to people there. I had friends who went there. Those are reasons why you attend a school. You get it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, try that again. Hey, it's often the first question,
Mhm.
and people get off on the wrong foot and they never recover.
Mhm.
Hey there, could you, particularly for 2+2, it's often the first question because you don't have a lot of other experience. In your case, you do. Hey there, could you tell me about why you enrolled at NYU?
Sure. I went to high school in New York City, and I really wanted to stay in the city. A number of my friends were coming to NYU as well, so I wanted to be with them. NYU also has a great biochem and biotechnology program with the founder of DNA nanotechnology is currently a professor there, and I worked with him for a summer.
Put that latter stuff up front.
Yeah,
Don't talk about your friends going.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between saying my friends went and I did some diligence and a friend of mine attended a year ahead of me and I spoke to him. You see, that
Mm-hmm.
is intelligent. That's an intelligent way to make a decision. You know someone who's there. It's the due diligence. So don't use that word, but that's kind of what they're looking for. How did you
I
investigate
looked
the
at
school?
different programs. I knew I wanted to do something involved in biochemistry, whether it was biology, specifically biochemistry. I looked up professors and saw any articles or news releases that might be relevant.
What are you kidding?
No.
Did you talk to the professors? I think a better way of putting that is that I knew I was interested in, what are you interested in?
Biochemistry.
I knew I was
they had
interested
a
in
good
biochemistry.
But you know what I really liked what he said? He said the mention of the DNA research.
Yes,
That's really
and
important.
they had, and they're known for this, and this. I spoke to, a good way to explain why you go to College X is you spoke to advisors in your high school, and they said this and that.
Mm-hmm.
They're interested in the diligence you do. I spoke to people who were there. I did online research. I visited. When I visited, I learned this, and this. That is the way to explain why you attended University X.
Also, the attraction of the guy in the DNA thing, you ultimately leveraged into an internship, right?
Yes.
So you need to say, okay, I went there in part because of his expertise and his knowledge, and it was a lucky or fortuitous situation because I was able to leverage my enrollment into an internship in that very institute.
Sure. Okay, here's another popular question that often stumps people. Once you got there, what was unexpected? That's a real stinker question.
It was unexpected. I thought that being a campus in New York City, students would be much more likely to take advantage of the different resources, but I found that most of the people I met really hadn't traveled or done much outside of NYU's campus or were reluctant to.
Yeah, what was unexpected is how stupid and parochial my classmates were. That's a great answer.
You don't say that.
But that's what you did say, right?
In essence.
Yeah, okay. But a better answer is, what was unexpected on the Upside. Okay.
Mhm. I didn't expect how accessible different professors would be and different deans of the school. My freshman year, I built a good relationship with the dean of my college, who after
Yeah,
sophomore
that's a
year,
good answer. Okay, what was your favorite? Good answer.
Mhm.
What was your favorite course?
I took a course called Literature and Science with the professor. The way the class was taught or graded was we'd have weekly chats in Slack. And
Answer the flipping question immediately. That is my advice in mock interviews. And friend, that is my advice to you.
Mhm. So my favorite course was a course called Literature and Science. Uh, and
I liked it because 1, 2, and 3. I realized, it's easy for me to say sitting here, on my couch, and it's a little different when you're, actually in the situation. But that's the way, if you prepare for interviews, that's the way you should be thinking.
Mhm.
What okay, tell me about this gig you had at the Perlman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania.
Sure. So I was interested in cancer research, and I found Professor Mark Green's profile online, and I emailed him. I sent him my resume. We set up a phone call, and he said that they were looking for a lab assistant, and I asked if I could join, and that's how I was able to get it.
Yikers. Boy, that's a good one. You mean you wrote a letter, and what did you say in the letter? That must have been pretty good.
I sent an email saying I was interested in the research he was doing, and
It's kind of like cold, right? You didn't have any connections to him.
I did have a connection.
Ah.
Mhm.
Ah. What was the connection?
My father had previously worked with him.
Yeah. How do you think an interviewer feels about having to beat that out of you?
It's not good. Should be more forthright with that.
Yeah, it's a humorous sidebar in this mock interview, but in reality, something like that could really damage you.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you put it? I mean,
You got to own it. You go, well, that was an unusual opportunity, and I was lucky to get it. He was a friend of my father's.
That's all, right?
Then that was an unusual opportunity. I was lucky to get it. He was a friend of my father's. He was kind enough to give me a kind of a whatever I was doing there, cleaning test tubes, and it was a great experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer, right?
Yeah, here's why that's really important. Because your first answer was it made us think that, okay, it was your going at it, cold call, you made it happen. And then the extra question revealed that there was a connection there, which then conflicted.
Yeah, debunked your first story. And right, yeah, people, you don't have to explain what happened.
Perfectly okay. Perfectly
people
okay.
know this all the time. People know how the world works. Keep
Using
that
the word, but using the phrase "I was lucky," blah blah, that's really good because that's a humble attitude about the whole thing, and
it's also true. I was lucky and fortunate, right? Okay. Okay, so those are kind of resume-based questions. Let's say they asked you this: what do you want? Yeah, this is the way they put it. What do you want your Harvard classmates to know about Israel? This is a trick question. They're hoping you'll say something inflammatory that they can then flunk you because they're secretly anti-Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Save your cards and letters, folks. A lot of people in the academy are anti-Israel, both overtly or tacitly. So be very careful.
So one thing that surprised me about Israel, and I think is very representative of the people, is how friendly everybody is. whether it's a cab driver, a person on the street, somebody, a food vendor, everybody is just an incredibly friendly and amicable person there.
Okay, that's a good answer.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's a great answer.
that's a good one. Who tell me about someone you consider to be a hero. Okay, these are just, we're off your resume now. These are just frequently asked Harvard interview questions and 2+2 questions.
I very much admire Jonas Salk, who developed the polio vaccine. He worked at NYU, and after developing the vaccine, decided to not to patent it and to release it for free, because he realized how important that technology was, and he knew the world needed it.
Okay, that's a good one. That's that's a good ace in your hole there.
And I love the NYU connection.
Yeah, and the NYU connection was good too. Here's another tough question. If you get admitted to 2+2, and you're certain that you can attend Harvard Business School in 2 or 3 years, what risks will that allow you to take in the interim?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm currently doing some preliminary research for an app that I want to build. It's a fitness and mental health app that I'm planning on using my biochemistry experience and speaking with some professors who might want to work with me on this. So I'd be able to dedicate more time to that, and instead of worrying about maybe advancing to another stage in another job or trying to transfer somewhere.
Okay, that's good enough. It's a very tough question. It's not a perfect answer, but it's a good answer. You could have upfronted it. You go, well, I'm working on this app, and if I really want to go gung ho in it, I could, devote a lot of time to it, or quit the job I have lined up. I mean, it gives me that amount of freedom. That's the front-loaded answer, but your answer is fine. Tell me something what do you plan to do after Harvard Business School?
After Harvard, I'd love to either join or start a biotech and healthcare venture capital firm. I still have a few years before I would start Harvard, where I'd be able to think more about if I want to start or join an existing company. So I can't say for certain yet, but I know that that's the field I want to go into.
Boy, I'm not sure I got that. Did you say you want to, after Harvard Business School, you want to, well, I apologize. The question was a little unclear. What do you want to do the year after you graduate Harvard Business School? Did you say you might want to start a biotech firm?
A venture capital firm that invests in biotech.
Or join one.
Yes.
Yeah. How would you start a biotech venture capital firm?
Well, first I'd have to contact any close friends and family if they are willing to invest any money in a fund that I would create, and use any savings or some of the savings that I have to pursue that.
Yeah. Do you know anybody in recorded history who's ever done that?
I know that things have been done in, not exactly in venture capital, but in hedge funds. For example, Ken Griffin in his college dorm started Citadel. He connected a satellite out of his window and raised hundreds of thousands of dollars while at Harvard undergrad.
That's a good answer. So I want to be like, yeah, you got me.
That.
Yeah, you got me on that one. Good. Here's another one of their nasty questions. Besides managing your time, what is going to be difficult for you at Harvard Business School?
I think after spending 3 years in the workforce, being able to, having the responsibility, now I see I'm answering the besides question. Let me think about that for a second.
This is one of these impossible questions.
I think making sure to reach out or to connect with students who might not necessarily have the same career goals, but understanding that there's still something that I can learn from them and from their experiences.
Yeah, that's a little too good.
Hey, how about this? How about this? You know, when you're a biochemistry major, you're lectured to a lot. I'm looking forward to, but I'm a little challenged and worried about how important it is to participate in the case discussions. But I really want to do that and develop that talent.
Give yourself a gold star, John. That's a great answer. That's a common question, and the answer, the way to formulate an answer, like an acceptable answer is, well, an acceptable answer for people who are now in the workforce, not 2 + 2 people, is, well, it might be hard just getting back into the student mindset. I think I'll enjoy it, but that might be a little difficult. And the case method might give me a little bit of difficulty. I'm looking forward to it, and it's exciting. But you know, trying to absorb the value of people from different points of view is going to be a challenge I look forward to.
Harvard is hung up on what contribution you can make in those class discussions. That's one thing Dee always said. Dee Leopold, I'm referring to.
Yeah, so why don't we ask that as a question? What do you think you can contribute to that kind of process?
I think because of my diverse experiences with the military, with science, with hedge funds, and with a venture capital firm, I can speak a little bit from my experiences and offer insights in cases that discuss those types of topics.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, I've got experience, international experience. I've been in the military. I've got a background. I've worked in healthcare. I've worked in blah and blah. So in cases that deal with those topics, I could make a contribution. And I think I could also make a contribution in cases that don't specifically deal with those topics, just based on knowing how things develop, how campaigns are run, what can go wrong. In cases that deal with government regulation, even if it's outside of healthcare. See, that's the bridge you want to make. Healthcare is highly regulated. I've worked in a highly regulated environment. I think I understand what the issues are. So in cases that are outside of healthcare that deal with government regulation, I think I could make a contribution based on my experience. That's a good one. There's a question that people think is asked, but I've never heard it asked, but let's just do it because, hey, we're here. Like, who would you want to sit next to at Harvard Business School?
I'd like to sit next to somebody who has experience starting their own company. Given that I don't plan on starting a company proper, more of an investment firm, I'd love to get more insight into that process and what goes into the types of company that I plan on investing in.
Okay, good. That's a good answer. The mistake people make is often, I'd like to sit next to someone completely different from me, which is kind of a banal answer. What you did was identified someone who's likely to be there that you could, you know, get value from. Of course. What's my answer to this?
Your answer to what?
Who do I want to sit next to? I want to sit, well, you sit next to two people, the person on the left and the person on the right. The person on the left, you know those people who always bring candy to class? I like to sit next to that person. And the person on the right, you know those people who take great notes? Well, I'm going to be too busy eating the candy to take the notes. So if I had those two people, it would provide, it's a great trio. Okay, we got to sign off here.
All right. Look, you're a really solid candidate. The numbers are amazing. 760, 3.8, biochem. great
Yeah.
experience. Your military experience to me is a big plus. And you play sax and guitar. Come on.
Yes. Yes.
I'm rooting for you. Good luck, and let us know if you get an interview, and let us know what happens.
Yeah, good
Thank
luck
you.
to you. Really.
Thank you.
You deserve to be there.
Thank
You
Shalom.
really do. Hey,
Shalom.
John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for James for joining us. Thanks as always to Sandy for leading us through those sometimes difficult and quirky questions. Thanks for watching.